Hello everyone, my name is James C. DeRoche, and the topic that I chose is organochlorine in breast cancer. The reason why I chose organochlorine in breast cancer is because someone dear to me died of breast cancer. My mother passed away, and ever since then I wanted to get more into breast cancer and find out the cause and some of the prevention that come with it. In the United States, breast cancer is arguably the most commonly diagnosed cancer and the second leading cause of cancer death with women. In recent studies, environmental research has turned their attention to exogenous chemical exposures, environmental contamination as probable risk factors that may possibly arise from the hormonal activity or from the carcinogenicity of many of these chemicals. And since 1991, various reports advocate that organochlorines may in fact be a risk factor for breast cancer. What is organochlorine pesticides? Organochlorine pesticides are insecticides composed primarily of carbon, hydrogen, and chlorine. They break down slowly and can remain in the environment long after application and in organisms long after exposure. The most notorious organochlorine is the insecticide DDT and PCBs, which were both banned in 1970. Other commonly known organochlorines that have been banned in the U.S. include ardrine, dieldrin, toxaphene, chlordane, and hectaphor. And the most common form of malignant neoplasm in North American women, and for women throughout the industrialized world, is breast cancer. The most widespread cancer in women with a makeup of 30%, and approximately 1 out of 8 American women will probably develop breast cancer at some stage in their lifetime. DDT has been widely used in the United States as early as the 1940s through 1960s as a means to control insects and forestry, agriculture, and building protection. PCBs were lengthily used in the United States as dielectric fluids and electrical transformers and capacitors, as plasticizers, lubricants, and heat transfer fluid, and in the manufacture of such products as paint and paper until their discontinuance in 1977. Many organochlorine compounds, including DDE and some PCBs, are considered to be endocrine disruptors. Now, epidemiologists, in discussion with their studies, specify that a lifetime exposure to estrogen anticipate the risk of breast cancer. And epidemiologists also believe that estrogen plays a central part when predicting breast cancer. Endocrine disruptors. An endocrine disruptor is a chemical that interferes with the function of the endocrine system by mimicking hormone, blocking the effects of a hormone, or by stimulating or inhibiting the production or transport of hormone. The levels of residues found in human tissues are usually in correlation with age as an outcome of buildup from the environment and historically higher levels of exposure. Some of the incidences in breast cancer: 10 cases per 100,000 women between the ages of 20 and 30, to more than 300 cases per 100,000 women over the age of 60. And some countries in Africa, they use DDT to fight malaria. Different ethnic groups have widely divergent incidence rates of breast cancer. Asian Pacific groups have a much lower incidence of breast cancer. And studies have suggested that Jewish women, especially those with a family history of breast cancer in a first-degree relative, have a risk of breast cancer almost 4 times greater than that of women in other ethnic groups. What's in your green tea? I chose to put that when I was doing my research. A woman by the name of Hope Nemiroff, who discovered she had breast cancer through her green tea. In the early 1990s, a number of breast cancer activist organizations began pursuing research into these environmental pollutants as possible avenues to breast cancer prevention. They won congressional legislation mandating the Long Island Breast Cancer Study Project, Silent Spring Institute as an independent organization dedicated to breast cancer and environmental research. In some ways, the policy to ban organochlorines has worked. Data clearly shows that levels of DDT and adipose tissue in the U.S. population have steadily declined since 1972. Exposures to carcinogens and endocrine disruptor compounds are common among sources such as gasoline, pesticides, detergents, plastics, home furnishings, etc. The precautionary principle calls for preventive action in the face of uncertainty. In 1998, Wang's spread statement on the precautionary principle identifies 4 central components of precautionary policies: taking preventive actions in the face of uncertainty, placing responsibility on those who create risk to study and prevent them, considering alternatives to potentially harmful activities, and increasing public participation and transparency in decision making. Screening factors. There are many ways that you can screen, but the most effective would be mammograms, which is an asymptomatic women in a prospective clinical trial aimed at reducing mortality. In the HIP study, about 1/3 of breast cancer cases were found using mammography alone. Overall, 75% were detectable on clinical examination. These are some of the other imaging that used for breast cancer screening: mammography, thermography, light scanning, etc. The levels of estrogens have never been higher in the history of mankind than they are today. What you want to do is you want to reduce your estrogen levels, because our body are washed with natural estrogens of our own, uh, and also the foods that we eat. Some of the toxins, uh, environment exposures, uh, perfume. You want to try to not to put the perfume product on your skin. Beware drinking liquids from plastic bottles. Beware of eating tin food from cans with white linens. Don't breathe the petrol fumes when you fill the car, etc. Some of the health tips, you want to try to go organic, because pesticides like DDT and Lendane are still appearing in our food chain. Try to eat more greens. Consider taking light daily exercises, about 30 minutes to get the lymph flowing and the toxins out. Try to eat less meat. Eating meat brings the animal's own estrogen into your body. These are my conclusions. Is breast cancer has added a severe dilemma in other regions of the world. Trial studies have showed that DDT, as well as a number of PBCs, has estrogenic properties, whereas other PBCs are anti-estrogenic. And breast cancer is found more often in women of higher economic classes and educational status. This finding is almost certainly linked to lifestyle factors. These are my references, and thank you. Thanks for your time.